My name is Jamie Ducharme. I'm a health correspondent at Time magazine and the author of Big Vape, The Incendiary Rise of Juul, which was the inspiration for the Netflix series Big Vape, The Rise and Fall of Juul.
In the early 2000s, there was this sense tech could do no wrong. Move fast and break things. That's the tech ethos.
Big Vape follows the rise of Juul Labs, which is an e-cigarette company that set out to make a vaping device that could make cigarettes obsolete. But instead what happened is Juuls became incredibly popular among teenagers, and countless young people across the US became addicted to Juuls. I wrote my book over the course of 2020, and it came out in mid-2021. And at that time, the story of Juul and the vaping industry was still evolving. A lot of things were in flux and changing, and that has continued over the more than 2 years since the book came out. Many of those developments were included in the Netflix series, but even the series ended before the story of Juul had wrapped up.
I don't think anyone could have anticipated how many children would want this product.
Because Juul became so popular with teenagers, the company was sued repeatedly by school districts, by state attorneys general, by individual kids and families who alleged that Juul had wrongfully addicted young people to nicotine. And over the course of the past few years, Juul has paid almost $3 billion to settle these various lawsuits, which has been understandably a huge financial hit for the company.
There are over 5 million kids using e-cigarettes today, an increase of 3 million in just 2 years.
When I finished writing my book, Juul was in this regulatory limbo where they had applied for FDA authorization, which they need to keep their products on the market in the US, but the FDA hadn't decided either way whether they would grant that. And then in June of 2022, the FDA decided that Juuls had not met the standard that the FDA had set and ordered them off the market. Juul very quickly appealed that decision, and the FDA agreed to do a second review of the company's data, which more than a year later is still ongoing. So it's still kind of unclear what the future of Juul will hold. So interestingly, even though Juul's entire problem as a company was that too many teenagers were using it, over the years, teenagers have kind of moved on. Most of them who vape are not using Juul at this point. They are using cheaper, single-use, disposable e-cigarettes, which, because they are regulated differently than reusable products like Juul, still come in tons and tons of flavors, and those seem to be really appealing to underage users. Disposable e-cigarettes are actually regulated even less than reusable e-cigarettes like Juul. Most of the companies on the market at this point have not gone through any FDA review process, so they're technically sold illegally, but the FDA has an incredibly difficult job ahead of it in trying to tamp down this ever-growing market where tons of companies are entering the market all the time. They're importing products from overseas. So the FDA has a huge job in its hands. One thing that has remained constant in the 5 years I've been reporting on vaping is that researchers cannot agree about what the role of e-cigarettes should be. Some feel very strongly that e-cigarettes can help adult smokers quit and help them transition to a product that is not completely safe, but safer or less dangerous. Other researchers think that e-cigarettes really just prolong nicotine addiction and don't do a great job of helping smokers quit, and are potentially damaging to their health, raising the risk of things like heart disease and lung disease. So researchers take extremely different views on the question of whether e-cigarettes are good or bad, but I know there is broad agreement that anybody who is not currently using a tobacco product of any kind should not start. It's always better to not smoke or not vape than to smoke or vape.